Amituofo to all. I wanted to share a little bit of my story with Nianfo. As I told you last time, I began in the self-power schools, studying a little bit of Theravada Buddhism, and then I switched to Tibetan Buddhism. I started to chant several mantras, do visualizations. I practice in the Kamakayu lineage, the Diamond Way, which is quite known worldwide. There is a center in my city here in Colombia where I live. And I went there, I began to practice, but I easily realized that it was more complicated than I could handle. And I realized that I was very far away from enlightenment, and I was like kidding myself. It was if I believed that I could achieve enlightenment in one lifetime. So I began to know about these Buddhas, Amitabha Buddha, the red Buddha in Tibetan Buddhism that is depicted in like a red monk, sitting in meditation. It's quite beautiful. I imagine you all know it. It's quite famous in Tibet. The Pawa lineages, they aim to send your consciousness to the Pure Land, but it is not done easily. It is done by visualization, self-power, and using energy channels in your body, and the use of mantras, and it's quite complex. Yes. So I tried to do some preliminary practices of Pawa, but even that I realized it was too difficult for me because I have modest capacities. I am not so intelligent, so I realized that I needed something different. But at the end of the day, I was just like kind of stuck in my practice. At that time, I didn't know about I did know about the Pure Land, Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, but I didn't quite get what was it. Tibetan Buddhism, I was just reading bits every now and then. I was very, lax, and I was kind of confused. When you enter Buddhism, yes, this was like 7 years ago. I hadn't read a lot. Yes, Buddhism is quite overwhelming. Because when you enter Buddhism, it's not like Christianity or where you have go to the Bible. We have a canon. We have a whole library. It's like a building full of texts, sutras, shastras, tantras, so it's quite overwhelming. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know all the things about Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, but I did know that going to the Pure Land was positive. So I started to practice, and one night, and this is when it gets a little bit weird, and I share with you because I guess as Nianfo practitioners, we all have a connection with Amitabha Buddha, and perhaps you will think that I am not crazy. One night I was meditating, doing the Pawa, this Tibetan practice of visualization based on self-power, trying to visualize Amitabha Buddha, which I failed miserably several times. So I was frustrated, and I just closed my eyes and I just focused on the mantra of Amitabha Buddha. And I also focused on the mantra of Avalokiteshvara, which in the heart mantra is Om Mani Padme Hum Ri, or Om Mani Padme Hum for short. And also on Guru Rinpoche, which is an emanation, according to the Tibetan tradition, he's an emanation of Amitabha Buddha's crown. So there is a strong connection between Avalokiteshvara, Wanjin Pusa, and Guru Rinpoche, which is the Buddha or the enlightened being or master who brought Buddhism to Tibet. So I began to chant these three mantras along with the Amitabha Buddha Ri or Om Amideva Ri, which is the mantra of Amitabha in Tibetan. And I didn't know why, but I just started to recite all those three mantras together, just like crazy. And suddenly, I had like sort of a vision, but it was not like imagination. You see, when you imagine something, it's kind of hazy. It is, even if it's clear, it's in your mind. But in this case, I realized that something was like a laser, like the sun's, like the rays of the sun, enter like my retina. You see, and it was not my imagination, but something that came from outside that was very different from my mind. I know my mind. I know my mind is very hazy. I know I'm a very distracted person. I'm very hyperactive mentally. But in this case, it was something coming from outside. That is the best way I can explain it. And these rays of the sun, to put it in that way, began to depict a very different Buddha statue that I was not accustomed to. You see, it was not the Tibetan depiction of Amitabha, which is a red Buddha sitting, the meditating, but it was a standing Buddha, and this Buddha was standing, and it was in a welcoming position. The typical Chinese or Japanese depiction of Amitabha welcoming you to the Pure Land, but I didn't know that because I hadn't heard one thing about Japanese or Chinese Pure Land schools. Actually, I didn't know they existed. I just knew Tibetan Buddhism and a little bit of Theravada. So I had no way, yes, you'll have to take my word for it. I didn't know one bit about other schools, at least in this lifetime. So I said, what? What is that? What is this Buddha that is standing, and this Buddha is not meditating? Yes, this Buddha is welcoming and is waving his hand at me, but I didn't see it clearly. You see, so this is very hard to explain. It is like you are trying to catch, a message on the radio, and you know that the message is very beautiful, but your radio sucks. Your radio is very bad. See, so my mind was trying to see this beautiful image, but due to my the obstructions, my karmic obstructions, I couldn't see it properly. But what I managed to see, what stood out, was the hand of this Buddha was extending to me, and it was standing. So then my meditation finished, and I said, "What? What was that?" So I was very surprised. I was kind of frightened. I thought I was going mad. You see, but because it was the first time, and it hasn't happened again. You see, so I realized that whatever happened, it was not due to my self-effort. It was due to the grace of Amitabha. So when that finished, I went to my computer and I began to look for schools that were different than the Tibetan lineages that also spoke about Amitabha. And of course, due to my ignorance, I ignored that the great Chinese Pure Land school had specialized in Amitabha recitation and methods to be born in the Pure Land from the 5th or 4th century, the Common Era, like almost 7-8 centuries before Tibet got Buddhism in the first place. So I went to this Chinese Pure Land site, which I highly recommend. It's called Pure Landers. I imagine you know it. If you don't, I really recommend it. Yes, besides the beautiful channel of our friend Jiahuan's YouTube channel, it is one of the few places that I know of that have many contents and teachings about Chinese Pure Land Buddhism in English. So it's purelanders.com. So I went there, and I realized that the Pure Land school was very old, and it specialized in Amitabha recitation. And lo and behold, I see the image that I saw, which is the one that I have in my altar now. You see, this is the golden Buddha that is with his right hand in a welcoming position, like someone welcome you to an hotel, for lack of a better expression. You see, and I saw it, and I say, "Oh, that is the one that I saw." But how did I know about this? So I realized that Amitabha Buddha was guiding me, yes, towards an appropriate method for my karmic disposition, for my karmic, affinity. So that was very moving for me, because at that moment I realized that Buddhas and enlightened beings and great bodhisattvas like Avalokiteshvara, Mahastamaprapta, Wan Shi Pusa. Um, they are not only teachers, they are not only masters, like a strict father. No, they are also mothers. They are also friends. They take care of you like you were their only son, their only child. Yes, so that was very moving for me, because at that moment Buddhism for me was something more like intellectual, something more like a strict thing. And yes, it is strict. It is about knowledge. It is about wisdom, but it also is about love, about compassion. And I realized that Buddhas are really living beings that they take care of you, you know, like a baby. So I was very moved, and I began to practice Chinese Pure Land Buddhism like 5 years ago. But at that moment, I just practiced on my own. Just I ended up then studying in the Japanese Jodo Shu and Jodo Shinshu schools for some time. I learned a lot. I respect those schools because I think that Buddhas have many skillful means to help sentient beings. But at the end of the day, I ended up returning where all started for me, which is a Chinese Pure Land school, when I met Jiahuan again, and I spoke to her, and I realized that I wanted to practice with a online sangha again in the Chinese Pure Land school, based on the teachings of Master Jin Kuang and all the other patriarchs, which is a fantastic lineage of masters who taught Nianfo and the three provisions of faith, practice, and vows. This vision that I had, this has never happened to me again. I don't think it will, because I think that Buddhas know when to strike your mind, when to put you in the right path, and when that's over, they just let you be, I think. But from that moment onwards, I think my life changed. I focused on the Pure Land method, and I think that the Buddhas and Guru Rinpoche and Avalokiteshvara, that mother of wisdom and compassion, mainly guided me to Amitabha Buddha in a very beautiful, insightful, and striking and surprising way. Because at that moment in my life, I was very cynical. I was kind of materialistic in a way. I was into Buddhism, but I didn't really have faith. When that happened to me, it showed me that Buddhas are real, and that Buddhas not only are real, but they take care of you like a son, like you are their only baby, something like this. So that is my story. Amitofo. Thank you for listening.